guess that people, at least novices, will be able to learn more precisely what the keys are to enter the art of Hapkido. Following exercises. Shan1 Nagbop. Forward falling. On this fall, it is important to turn your face on the side, right or left, so that you are able to absorb the shock. Depending on your level, you may vary the height. Fubon Nagbop, backward falling preparation. You must synchronize. The moment when the back touches the ground must be preceded by hand strike with the entire arms. Unfold the arms with energy at one go. Chupong Nagbop, side fall. It is important to swing the whole arm. Hand and elbow are in line. Work several times on one side, then change to the other side. Kurugi. Rolling. Falling roll. It is important here to raise up your neck, as if you are looking chin up. Another possibility is, after you rolled, to come back and look at the belt. Rolling and falling with obstacles. Roll and falling roll with obstacles. Must be performed once you've mastered the basic techniques. You may change length and height. It is important to remain relaxed all the time and to insist on technique application while avoiding injury. And to keep a straight back. Acrobatic falling. Acrobatic falling, or Ojon Nagbop, is to be only performed by advanced students. The fall must be well prepared when following the grabs. See how the whole arm hits the ground and how the neck raises forward. In order to avoid the head to hit the ground. It is also important to inhale half the air from your lungs before you do this movement, and to exhale all the air from your lungs once you fell. Choksul. Kicks. Chundam Apshagi. medium level front kick. Low level side kick. Adan Yop Shagi. High level side kick. Sandan Yop Shagi. In the art of Hapkido, you usually aim at the neck. Low kick on tibia. Endali Chagi. Turning kick on kneecap. Toktobi Châteauleyer. Kick using top side of the foot, medium level. Alton Pikyu Shagi. This kick may also be launched on the face. Turning kick using the heel, face level. Chokto Chatoligi Sandan. Round reverse kick using the heel. Twikonchi Chatoligi. Direct spinning back kick. Twidolai Opshagi. Spinning round back kick. Twidolai Olyoshagi. Here you must focus on the pivoting foot. You must pivot on the ball of the foot, not on the sole. Direct round kick. Chuigo Shagi Sandan. The neck is often the main target for high kicks in the art of Hapkido.
Appalchagi.
Kick. Front leg work. Apal Shagi front leg kick. Crossing steps work. Apal Tole Chagi. Crossing steps are a way of controlling the distance with the opponent. Technique here is Shiko Shiagi. Yop Shagi. Second type of front leg work, sliding steps. With here the Sandan Yop Shagi technique. It is important to strike when you put your supporting leg back on the ground. Chikunchi Chatoligi. Hambal Chugo, Twidola Chagi. It is important here to give the impulse to the rear leg in order to quickly launch the kicking leg, that is, the front leg. Keep your head up over the shoulder. Chigo Chagi Hadan. Kicks under the waist are usual and important in the art of Hapkido. Proper breathing means to exhale while striking and to inhale while coming back to position. It gives you a good control of the impact. Special kicks. Chokto Bichatoligi. Here you strike on the kneecap with the edge of the foot or the side of the heel. Chopki Chirigi. Here you strike on the groin area with the toe tips. This technique is combined with a superior level blocking. Tikunchi Chanoki. This technique will be performed with the heel by bringing it back to yourself. It is a commonly used technique in defense against grabs. You may also strike on the calf or on the thigh. Here you strike on the back of the knee. Enjo Twidola Chagi. Spinning kick after lowering of the center of gravity. The kick is often used as a strike back against a leg attack. Kai Tanjiki. Low level jump kick. First, swing the rear leg on the back of the knee. Then go on with front leg work in order to throw your opponent off balance.
권술,
Quansul strike on upper limbs. Chunjiwan Shigi. This strike aims at cavities, plexus, eyes, soft parts of the neck, and intercostal spaces. Kwanza Chiligi. Poking strike on cavities. Sudo Chigi. Knife hand strike. This strike may be done from one side to the other while getting down, like here. Exhale while striking. This strike may also be performed in the opposite direction. And hit the temple or the neck. Sholkwan Suchirigi. This kick has the advantage of being at the same time most precise and most powerful. Kakwan Chigi. This strike is often used within the far distance from the opponent. Chanjon Chigi Sandan. Palm strike on the face. When hitting the face, fingers are pointed. Chanjo Chigi Chundan. The fingers are turned to the side. Here you'd better hit the opponent's body. Chanjo Chigiadan. This time the fingers are facing down. It is a very surprising strike combined with a blocking feint. Palkop Chigi. Upward movement of the elbow to the chin. Olyo Palkop Chigi. Olyo Palkop Chigi. Elbow rotation movement. Face level.
빼기술,
Unlock on grip work. Several movements are possible to get out of reach when grabbed. Here we'll see Chigi. Percussive strike. The movement shall go on like a sword thrust. You may also get out of reach with a rotation movement. Then you grab the attacker's wrist. You'd rather throw your opponent off balance in order to perform correctly this technique. You may also bring the whole body near the grip, then go on with the movement to be able to unlock.
손목수,
Wrist lock. Thumb luxation. Kalnoki. And control on the ground. An extra control technique is to control with your fingers. Follow with a throwing grabbing technique. As and when you become comfortable with basic techniques, on one situation you may mix several ongoing techniques. Always finish with establishing control on the ground. For this grip, it is important to have a perfect position as much at the legs level as the upper body. You need to work close to the opponent until the final rotation. This good angle makes a strong grip. It is not the strength you put in it. Poke your fingers in the inside of the elbow. Here it is a slightly dynamic work after imbalance. Final control is important depending on the free and easy attitude of the partner. Always make sure not to go over pain limit. For the elbow locks may involve important injury. Here, see the importance of your sparring partner suffering the lock. and the importance of a good learning of falling prior to grip work. Elbow locks may be followed with strikes. And with control on the ground. In order to improve the technique, and with control on the ground, so that you improve the technique. With the same first move than the elbow lock, you may work directly luxation on the fingers, without having to go on the ground. This grip is a typical Hapkido grip. After you step forward while lowering your center of gravity, you control the elbow, then you establish control on the ground. It is important to bend your knees and to control the elbow while your opponent is falling. You may establish control on the ground differently, with the opponent on your abdomen. This lock is called out-noke. The space between the forefinger and the thumb is used as a lever in order to execute this lock. It is a rotation lock with the weight of your whole body while thrusting the hip at a 45-degree angle. You should not do this lock too quickly because there's a risk of major injury. Control on the ground may be executed through twisting, following the lock. This lock may be broken down into two distinct parts: direct joint control and direct body action. Until the control on the ground. The two parts should progressively become one, so that this lock increases its efficiency. Here are now the reverse locks, that is, on a cross grip. This lock is called Z lock. After you strike, pull the opponent's arm until it looks like a Z and push it down. The return movement on the arm must be done with the whole body, before the pushing down. This extremely painful control may be followed with an arm lock. Throw your opponent off balance, strike him, get out of reach with a rotation while hold a sword, and control on the ground, followed with an arm lock. This lock may also be executed with a direct elbow control, followed with the same arm lock. We are now studying a direct joint control, Yuning Sul. The famous crane beak often used by the Korean police. This lock allows control. Along with stand-up, which enables the controller and the controlled to work together to a precise location. First, throw your opponent off balance before you perform the lock. All the locks that we've studied may be performed on the same double grip manner. Here we have Sanmo Pictelgi. Rotation control.
호신술, 치기.
Strike and grip. It is important here to grab the back of the opponent's head and to pull it down so that your strike on the knee gets more power. The strike is done with the knife end at the moment your leg gets back on the ground. It is important here to separate the upward and downward forces so that you get out of reach while striking, and to work with your body going forward. The elbow striking work is extremely powerful. Therefore, you must be very careful. Throw
던지기.
over grip. To lower the center of gravity here is of prime necessity in order to perform the throw without using too much strength. Through the process, you may increase speed. There are various ways of throwing in Hapkido, and they always have to and need to be done thanks to a good position, rather than using pure strength. Here again, the partner's work is important, and mastering the falls is a prior necessary condition to the throwing work. We are now studying sweeping techniques. It is important to throw your opponent off balance by applying pressure on his shoulder before you sweep. Sweeping is usually followed with strikes on the ground. Depending on your partner's level, work may be executed from a higher point. Yet it requires some strength to be able to carry and throw. The goal of this exercise is then to improve the falling technique of your partner. On this technique, the semi-rotation and lowering of the center of gravity while keeping the arm's position is highly important. Throws down on wrist grips are specific techniques of the art of Hapkido.
의복술,
Defense grabs close. All the technical elements that we studied earlier are to help to perform these defense grab close techniques. During your training, you must avoid precipitation and manage to integrate the technique step by step until the final fulfillment. On grabs close and on defense grabs close, the balance between strikes and joint control is one of the distinctive features of Hapkido. Koki and Chigi are a quite interesting mix for self-defense. You must be calm and precise when training. The art of Hapkido always uses the opponent's movement and direction. For instance, on this collar grip, you simply extend the bending motion of the arm in order to transform it into a rotation movement, followed with a ground control by using the close. Ground control is often followed with breath or blood strangulation, like you see here, with kimono grabbing. Kimono is topok in Korean, to being the way and pok being the close of the way. On strangulations, you must always know when the pain and efficiency threshold in order to let go when you should. An interesting option for collar grips is here to be able to break the force of the gripping arm so that you can easily perform the rotation movement. Keep at a distance, break the force and control. These movements are to be performed with most precision given the more fragile nature of the cervicals. Through the learning of this technique, you should perform it with only one hand, with a more and more simple movement. Here too, good practice relies on the good level of your partner, who knows how to fall without getting hurt. Here, against a more powerful opponent, a good strike is necessary to be able to efficiently apply joints control. In such a situation, striking, sweeping, and blood strangulation are distinctive techniques of Hapkido. Precision is an important element when performing technique, balance, cover angle, grip, and lock. Moving the body forward until control on the ground becomes, through the practice, one and only one technique. A whip boxul, defense grabs close. You should take your time in order to integrate each step of the technique until the real motion final execution. Hapkido is based on lowering of the center of gravity and positioning. The main emphasis is on a minimum of strength, a maximum of efficiency. It is the basis of the practice. Here, you use the body weight to execute the lock after you chose the right angle. For a wrist twist on a direction in which the wrist flexibility is limited. You must exhale while performing the technique, and you must practice step by step before you enhance the speed. Control on the ground may be executed in various ways. The one shown here is a good one to easily handcuff the aggressor. The shoulder's movement is important here. Not only the hand that comes to the shoulder, but the shoulder participates in the movement while stepping the leg forward, which allows to put weight on the painful angle of the wrist. A tiny mistake in the angle of the lock may result in an inefficient lock. Whereas the same strength is used, a right angle work is therefore essential in order to obtain true efficiency. You may precede these techniques with other moves, like a smack, then followed with the lock, which allows to anticipate the opponent's reaction. Two attitudes are possible in Hapkido. The young attitude, tough, like this one, but is brutal and followed with strikes. And the yin attitude, that is delicacy in execution. And you follow with pushing without major body injury. Either one of these attitudes are efficient, and as time and experience go by, the yin attitude will be naturally promoted to preserve the physical health of the practitioner and of the partner. Hapkido techniques are diverse and complete, and they are taught through all ranges involved in any confrontation, in respect of the same principles of training. U1 Hoa, the repetition principle, the harmony principle, and the flexibility principle. The key word for Hapkido technique is adaptation, and you succeed in executing technical movements that are extremely efficient, with minimum power, and especially in controlling your opponent without getting him injured, so that you respect the Hapkido philosophy that is control without harming. Of course, the efficiency of a technical movement won't occur unless you repeatedly practice and unless you have integrated almost unconsciously the technique. So that you may reproduce that technique in the most natural way. Here's a throw executed from a wrist lock position. A good Hapkido practitioner must have an open mind towards other different styles that might perpetuate his, so that he might improve a complete and diverse technique. Depending on the level of the practitioner, the pace of technique's execution may become faster and faster without losing focus on safety. The elbow movement might be either a strike or a simple knee push with a bent knee. Here, With a Nelson lock, the important movement is, besides the lowering of the center of gravity, to poke the thumbs in both carotid axes, so that you may work on a side throw. You may also use a little pelvis strike in order to create a necessary space to apply pressure on both carotid axes and finish with a throw and a strike. In every situation, stay calm and work while insisting on technique more than on power. Once the elementary elbow locks are integrated, you may work them in different scenarios, like here with a hair grip. That partly explains why the Hapkido practitioners often have short hair. At least it could be one of the historical reasons for Korean tradition was to wear long hair. Once the angle is controlled, you may work in a very dynamic way, while keeping control, so that you stick to reality depending on the level of practice. Defense against strike. Defense against striking attacks begin with learning direct blocking, then circle blocking. The efficiency of blocking often relies on sliding on either side. Blocking is often combined with yin sweep blocking and yuong blocking. You may also use the lowering of the center of gravity. The main point is also to slide on the side while keeping eye contact with the partner or the opponent. Blocking may be followed with simultaneous strikes, like here with the back of the hand. Here, it allows an easy following lock by anticipating the opponent's reaction. Two hands blocking is also often used and extremely efficient. Blocking and striking back. After blocking, you may use strike and sweeping legs in the most flowing style, one action leading to another, until the final action. The movement may be broken down in order to be studied, and then all together for the execution of a codified movement. In Pagwon Sul, the all strikes and joints control work is shown with a certain ease, once you got the basic principles of locks and of unbalance. The semi-rotation movements here are important in order to slide out and to execute efficient techniques. Control may also be established on the abdomen. By going on with the action and by anticipating the reaction of the person who falls. Depending on the technical level of the practitioners, the relation between the two partners may become extremely pleasant when practicing Hapkido. Here we have a log that demands serious technique, because controlling and moving must be done at the same time. You must not choose efficiency over everything, but sometimes the technical work in itself may become a goal of my Hapkido practice. You must not choose efficiency over technical work in this art, because technical work can also become a goal in itself as far as my practice is concerned. Here too, it is possible to vary controlling on the ground. To combine blocking and joint control is not an easy thing. It is demanding, and it's part of Hapkido technique. Here, a brief strangulation followed with a throw by falling under your opponent. Uncross blocking and strike, strike to the ground, breath control of the windpipe and throw, performed in one flowing control movement. Here, blocking is followed with blood control, by applying pressure on carotids, then go down on ground. Sweep blocking, bear hug, then control. Beware of the pen limit. On the strangulation area, the submission signal from the partner on the ground is extremely important. You must stick your head as close as possible so that you avoid overarm bear hug. Here different bear hug with semi-rotation. By stepping behind the partner's back and by locking, with a progressive lowering of the center of gravity. These techniques are to be executed most carefully. None of the steps of this exercise should be neglected. The first one, that is dodging, and sweep blocking being the most important one.
선술,
Direct attacks. Joint control may also be performed within an attack once you reach Hapkido blue belt level. It gives you a realistic approach in executing locks and joint control. Once again, it is important here to underline that the concept break falling rolling must be integrated before trying to execute these technical movements. Moving is also an important element here. A technique well executed won't lead to any injury and will lead to harmony and progress, alongside with the falling partner. The techniques shown here are a small part of all ranges of techniques that exist within Hapkido. But it matters that you driver focus on one single technical movement and practice it through, than trying to learn every technique, but learn them wrong. Once the basic elements are integrated, you may try to practice in a more dynamic way, like here. Sweeping leg technique here is called Taikoro Tsuki and is followed with a strike. It's a simple technique, easy to use in every situation. Here we see direct control based on locks that we studied earlier. These kinds of control are often used by the Korean police. For this technique, it is important to give a little strike to the shoulder so that you prevent a brutal reaction of your partner, which makes the execution of the lock easier, given the fact that the strike brings the partner's hand towards the grip. The lowering of the center of gravity is important here, and the ability to fall is tremendous. Here we have an action on the fingers, followed with a lowering of the center of gravity leading to a throw. The arm comes and sweeps the legs that are already losing balance. Direct control from behind. Yunang Sul that we saw earlier on grip. Here you must pull your chest up so that there is a lever effect in order to get the lock efficient. In Hapkido, there's a saying that goes, attack on the sea and in the mountains. Here we see the attack on the sea, that is low level with a kick to the kneecap. Followed with a joint control on the wrist in the mountains, that is high level. Once each one of these technical movements is mastered, you may efficiently execute them all together. Fighting exercises. Here we tackle a completely French methodology, that is the application of movements and techniques traditionally integrated in a context of confrontation. Here with a direct front fist strike. Here's an example of technical combination: left, right, followed with chikochagi on the liver area. You may repeat this combination without moving. Like here, by getting back to original position, or by stepping forward, like here, while putting down the front leg, in order to be able to carry on and combine on the line. Here too, the precision in your work is extremely important. Here's an example of counter-attack on a low strike, by striking on the groin area. This technique must be very carefully executed. Another example of a counter-attack with semi-rotating shin bone in order to break from the beginning of the action. These exercises are young type, that is tough. You may vary the level of strikes, like here, to higher level by anticipating the strike. Or also to medium level with this kick, Trichagi. Low level, Adan Yopshagi. All these techniques are as many ways given to Hapkido practitioners. In fact, the strike is brutal on the knee, which cannot be executed while training. Back sweeping on the back of the knee. It is important to perform these techniques in a dynamic way. In order to always consider them in a real-life scenario. And to understand their true meaning. Here, Kawitenjigi, with usually the leg on the back of the knee, which is not the case here. On grip, direct lock execution. This technique is often used in what is called Hapkido. Once again, go to the pen limit, but control in a careful way. Dynamic control is dangerous. Always try to become the technique itself, in order to put your body weight in. Here, we usually have a neck lock that follows the wrist lock, but this technique should be performed at a higher level, but we will see later on. Direct throw work followed with control. Stick to the back and lower the center of gravity in order to easily throw. Throwing from behind after an unbalanced movement that is going to pull the partner's reaction forward. Transfer this reaction by falling. Here, you anticipate the partner's reaction after you stroke, while slightly bending the strike. Use the natural movement of the body in order to pull it onto the ground. The ability to adapt during fighting follows the diversity of techniques in the art of Hapkido. Obviously, these techniques are to be executed with total control for the aim at the spinal column. On neck grip, work in the cavity and on the back of the knee. Arm locks are extremely valuable within dynamic work, in order to always keep control. In case the fight will go on the ground, groundwork is usually neglected in Korea, where the fights often take place with groups against groups, and where the fact of being on the ground too long can be an efficient option within a global situation. Nevertheless, for the French Taekwondo Federation and the National Hapkido Committee, groundwork is an integral part of our technique that we want to develop in an even more efficient way. No matter what, balance and unbalanced work is the technique base for gripping and throwing. Here, a typical example of work in the art of Hapkido. Sweeping blocking of a strike. Strike and throw with joint control. Here, same thing, rather than blocking by stepping in the attack, going on with the movement is part of the Hoan philosophy of the Hapkido circle.
Toutes les techniques du Yosekan Budo peuvent être représentées dans le randori d'entraide. Coup de pied, coup de poing, poussée, saisie, frappe à main ouverte, main fermée, projection, clé, plutôt que de solliciter les seuls muscles d'un ou deux membres, le mouvement ondulatoire utilise le corps tout entier pour développer la puissance sur un coup de pied, un coup de poing, une projection, une clé, une technique d'arme.